Bob Armstrong.
Okay, I guess I might as well go directly to screen share, and as a compromise, I have emptied a bunch of my screen, and in fact I should gonna show you if I go and choose just one of the, why is that not, that's odd. Anyway, I didn't want to show. Let me first start with a hitting F10, F11 for a timestamp. This last week, well, one of the major thing is that now I'm offering a supported licensed version of CoSy, and I've been working on putting this as my notes. But one of the things that's relevant to Bill's talk is that this is the rules for CoSy, extreme simplicity, and essentially it's the rules for fourth. But one of the things is that what it is an extensive vocabulary evolved from APL, mainly slicing and dicing, and searching and replacing, and applying verbs to every item in lists. And this philosophical goal is the succinct expression of algorithms, whether cleaning HTML, handling mailing lists, or family accounting, or finite element modeling of the planet. But to get over, this is the thing is, CoSy and its market is mainly, if you will, at the very high level, but very simple use. And essentially, I mean, all other APLs are built in C. And it is just incredibly more flexible, and to have it based on fourth. So CoSy is unique in being an APL built on fourth. And one of the things that I, in various presentations that I've given, I see is more and more really unique, is that it's a note-keeping interface where the difference between writing and executing is just tapping either enter or F6. And I mentioned, well, one of the things is Thursday morning, I gave a short demo or mentioned it to the British APL Association, and announced that now there's a supported version of CoSy. I had mentioned earlier and started going through this silent demo of Hello World, and actually I got to take a lot of time. I got to make it shorter. But a woman, a lawyer, happened to be over here Thursday afternoon, and I was interested in getting her take on this demo. And actually, we got partway through it, partly because I'm such a lousy typer that it's very slow. We ended up just going directly to her working directly in CoSy, and in particular hitting a timestamp. And I mentioned to her, because one of the things I've been doing and getting more prepared for business is updating a lot of the accounting functions, and really evolving from K and KDB and APL. Just CoSy is just intrinsically a database language. And one of the things I've been doing, and I've been involved with, well, this actually is from something that has involved court time and has made me realize, put a value on CoSy, because if you're a lawyer, if CoSy can save you half an hour a month, it's worth it. But in any case, I showed her, I mentioned that this is time accounting, and that I've just recently been doing. But this little piece of code here, or this is from a job. I call these entries a job. Let me just copy that and put it up in my, this is the result window. And I can go and put something up there, and then now that's got that's T0. I'm going to go through this rather quickly, but okay, you didn't see anything because that's it. I made these timestamp words which go and pick out any word, any occurrence of essentially you turn on a clock by just adding an asterisk after it, and you turn off your clock by an asterisk followed by a timestamp. And this is something that appealed to her, because if you actually live a life where you charge by time, then just simply being able to put down a timestamp and an asterisk, I mean, to be sexist, even a woman can sort of like be attracted by the simplicity of that. But just to briefly, so I made these words, first of all, TS asterisk and asterisk TS, and that's where Forth's brilliant openness in terms of the words being not any non-blank string of characters is great. Anyway, it just searches for them. And then this essentially goes and grabs it makes an index into the first five, into the first, where the number is. And and it turns it from a string into a number. It does that on each one it finds. And that's all now in my accounting functions. And so I can define them into here, well, I already have. But to go and run, for instance, colon TS on that, here I've extracted all of my ending timestamps. And then this line actually goes and takes both of these, and on TS, it evaluates them on each write. So it's evaluating each of these on T0, and it's returning that, and that comes out as an array like this, a list of two lists. And actually I have a nice formatting function that I use a lot to put it out as a table. And one of the things is this finally has made me face sort of making the modulo. And it's slash modulo, I mean, pure, it's quintessential fourth word. Making that actually apply to lists. So I won't go into the definition of it, but because it's using some fairly high level stuff, but actually you can see at this point, it's pure, virtually, that's an index fetch. And one of the things that's unique versus all the other integer functions that I have, it returns pairs for each. So if I go and I execute that on the result, you'll see that I saved that result here. It has separated out the hours and the minutes. So now, and that's essentially going into and representing in base 100. And I actually, now that I have this modulo function, I need to extend that to the full APL represent function, which essentially can have mixed modulo things. And so you can get like one use is getting what the linear index is from an array of various dimensions. And I'm going to, so that's expressed in base 100 essentially. We want to express it in base 60. And actually in math, I have dot products. I don't have a normal thing. But one of the things that's actually interesting here, let me put a comment symbol. This is the whole math thing, but one of the things is I decided to just suck the line that contains the definition of dot out of that. Eval that line, just that line. So now I have my dot product defined. So here I've got the hours and so forth. And then this line, essentially, you'll see the 61, and essentially it's a dot product of them on each of those. It goes and is reassembled that into the actual 24-hour times, if you will. And then take that result, okay, and it does the difference on each of those. And to go and put that in good form, okay, there's the start and stop times and the times between them. And then it just can ravel that last out. And okay, so I spent 54 minutes on that, on that waste of time with this, dealing with it. Yeah, anyway, a little piece of that business of life, which is the fundamental goal of CoSy. One of the things, I've got these notes here that I'm putting together. This is not complete, and this is actually the draft. But one of my goal is like the system Evernote, but which has got 400 million users. I guess it's got $1 billion market cap. But the goal is like Evernote, but unlike any other environment out there, it is both built in and commanded in open language, not hierarchies of well, I don't understand. I got my salamanders hiding behind here, and I'm not sure exactly what in the world. Normally, when I go up and click on or just show one of these things, it'll go and show my workspace. And I wanted to show you the salamander that I got out of my well in 2013, and still thriving. Anyway, stop share. Questions, comments, observations? Mind blowing? But that's dealing with problems at the APL level, or higher than that, because a lot of my words, all these parsing words, they're words that do simple things like delete from the tail, do all the splitting and so forth, do the sorts of things. Actually, I was tempted in a sense to do Bill's challenge, I actually went and looked online to go and see if I could find some rules for it. But in any case, I mean, this is I'm doing that, all that sort of parsing, picking out these things, and it also applies to going and doing something like putting together an assembler, and this whole notion of having assembly and disassembly being a function in its inverse, which is also very, very, I mean, having inverses for words, having inverses for functions is very important. And in fact, APL has gone too far, J in particular, Iverson's J, sort of it acts as if somehow or other you magically can know what the inverse of a function is. But that's sort of not something you can do. What do you think, Brad?
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
In the chat, I gave you a question. Why did you choose APL? And I commented I was thinking of Dylan on top of fourth, and Dylan is an infixed Lisp invented by Apple.
Actually, one of the things is I spent the decade of the 70s in grad school at Northwestern trying to figure out how brains work in visual psychophysics. And I started realizing and then Fortran, I was in the age of Fortran and Algol, and PDP-8. And that's sort of, I think that the experience with the PDP-8, it's sort of like afterwards when I learned of Forth, I thought, damn, that's what I would have done if I were as brilliant as Chuck. You know, it's like I wasted so damn much time in assembly and so forth. But anyway, the point was by the end of my tenure, I ended up just finding no explanations other than mathematical ones useful, you know. And then they got APL on the machine, and I was recognizing that I had to understand multidimensional algebra and geometry to have any ability to even think about how do you describe the pattern of 250,000 you know, 5 optic fibers, you know, and APL was that math, and so in many ways I learned linear algebra from APL. But I saw immediately that the notation was far generalized from that. And in any case, when I lost my tenure in grad school, I got a job consulting at Xerox in Rochester. And that doing their worldwide market forecasting system, which was written in APL by COBOL programmers. The code was so incoherent that I decided to call my company Coherent Systems, and that got reduced to CoSy when the IP-sharp APL email system, global email system in 1980, just had 32-bit, 4-byte mailbox names. Anyway, but that's why, I mean, I've spent my adult life in APL, and I've created, this is like 4th generation of the same sort of environment, and it gets back to, I mean, Ken Iverson's original thought and the original, I'm not sharing, probably, let me go and so I can click this. Yeah, and the title of Ken Iverson's Turing Award paper, which I recommend, is Notation as a Tool of Thought. And this is the thing, is my whole the whole thing with my N cube, and one of the things I did to sort of show I certainly could not have solved it without being able to go and essentially use APL as a scratch pad and figure out how to go and make minimal paths around n-dimensional cubes in particular. So that's why APL. And when Arthur Whitney went in a direction of more simplified and transparent APL, I followed that branch rather than Ken Iverson's much more mathy J, where, like I say, it's sort of like you think somehow or other you're going to know what the inverse of a function is. But this is more, and then coming down from, I mean, I'd learned when I was at Xerox of the existence of fourth, and actually Rochester had, with Larry Forsley, a fourth community and so forth too. So that was propitious. I saw immediately that the thing to do, the use of fourth in building language, is bang, go straight to the most succinct, the highest level language, and that's APL and K, and again, actually, in a sense, and in CoSy, that the reverse Polish of CoSy of fourth, and particularly this brilliant, I'll find it anytime, what would be an operator in APL. Okay, for instance, this is going and following Arthur Whitney. Okay, I've got this. This was on cleaning up some HTML, but this is like taking whatever T0 is, whatever, and essentially taking as a right argument a blank, and then this tick. This is one of the great brilliances of fourth, the tick, which returns the address of the following word rather than executing it, if it's a verb. So this hands the verb equals, character equals, and then it applies this on each between blank and each of the items in T0, the string, obviously, T0, which is the left argument. So it's doing it on each, it's doing that on each one of those. And then I see I'm summing across them on each line. So anyway, that's counting. I see what this line is doing is counting the number of blanks in each line of text in T0. So that's it. And you get to very, very high level finance and global financial organizations. And I mean, the market for, that's what pulled me down to a couple of decades in Manhattan, was the investment banks use APL when they don't have time for anything else. And that's the market for K. Look at kx.com, because that's where, I mean, there's just, because, and there's CoSy. This is the thing, is I'm bringing my accounting up to where it was in my K version of CoSy, and an awful lot of the sort of understanding of living in a node and a list of lists in an array and so forth comes from the experience of living in essentially an IDE built in the lists of K. So okay. That may be more detail than you were wanting, but I'm interested. I'd be interested in seeing what Dylan is like. Oh, but one of the things that I would say, I expected to go and make an infix notation, but this ability, and for instance, something I did a number of times, it just sort of seems so natural. And one of the reasons I chose Reader Forth is that I really like having a symmetric comment symbol. But to be able to split apart a word, and whenever I show anything to APL level, to be able to go and like throw a comment in there and so forth, and okay, I've split out that part of the of the line, And I mean, the parsability that you have in reverse Polish is I do expect at some point to make. I mean, you can make infix words if you want, but as a fundamental structure at the bottom, you know, make the word go and be intelligent about looking at the rest of the line. Don't go and make a complex higher level parser than just white space is the prime delimiter, and the syntax is read a word, do it. Noun, noun, verb. If you put it in sort of like German or Japanese or something. So. Any other?
Hey, Bob,
Yeah.
are you aware that there's a successor to Riva called Eighth?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, Aaron. One of the things that I really respect about him is he got together a really, you know, global and brilliant group of people that were working on this at the same time. That it became clear that the only way I was going to be able to do what I wanted to do is to roll my own. Yeah, I think that it's just different paths. Because and one of the things is it's one of the things that needs to be done. And the reason why things like what Brad does is so interesting, you know, relevant, is that really CoSy is just middleware. CoSy is just a vocabulary in fourth. And it really won't, it needs two things. Well, the first thing it needs is to get a web interface. And I'm so naive about anything other than the APL languages and fourth, that I don't know C. I saw this stuff with putty today, you know, and I see, oh, I've seen, so this is what putty does, you know, but the interface with the web to go and make this so that it can be essentially a web app, as it is, the supported, the alpha level of CoSy includes not just the members directory, but your own personal subdirectory. For code. And actually I found, yeah, Bill Wong at Electronic Design or whatever suggested going to get on GitHub. And so I got on GitHub for a while. But GitHub is, I've used the term, you know, you've got these concrete walled kindergartens that are you know, standard environments that you have. And this has got no walls. This is, you know, it's if you want to go, I mean, obviously, actually, one of the things that was interesting here, and this is sort of left over from an awful lot of time is spent just trying to find the words you want to go and put together the sentence you want, rather than going and writing a whole lot of stuff. And so I was looking up a bunch of words, there's the definition. I mean, this is a really dumb sort of you know, simple words, and essentially what this is doing, that question mark is actually going through the whole list of scripts that I have and splitting them on empty lines, and then going and grabbing the lines containing that string out of them. So you can see the definitions, and most, without question, by far the modal length of a definition in CoSy is one line. If it's getting into something, you know, really clever, like a really clever word is this A apply, which actually recursively goes down until you have a fundamental type, and then applies whatever the function is at that level. So if you have two lists where the leaves are integers, for instance, an integer function will go out to apply to the corresponding leaves of those trees. So, and all of that, and that's from, again, from Arthur, Kay, but it's very important, and that this is where it's this mixture of just being able to, oops. But you also see what a terrible typist I am. Oh, I know why. This is one of those things is, yeah, the thing is it's deferred and then it goes and fills in the function. But whereas, no, I won't go through it, but that's something that's probably that might be 10 lines long, because it recursively goes out to the leaves of each one of each of these two items. And by the way, one of the things that a great thing that I'm glad I did, but it just is amazing how fast CoSy is despite it, is that all references are modulo. That I fetch, for instance, is modulo. And one of the things is that eliminates any issue about bounds errors on anything. And it also simplifies what's called scalar extension in APL, because you can add any length array to any other length array and it'll just go and it'll have a meaning. So it is kind of one of my points, when it was clear that my work with Arthur and all of that was a cul-de-sac, and I had to roll my own. It's obvious that from way back that fourth was really the thing to do, but you've got the opposite end of the spectrum. So following Arthur's sort of, if you will, hints and so forth as to how to do reference counting, because each word takes care of its own reference counting, and so because all words are generally in nodes in a higher level, in a root directory or whatever, and whenever the reference count returns to 0, it frees the word. But it's creating, whenever I execute one of those things that just simply pulls up, it's creating and destroying thousands of objects. So, and it's all in fourth. And if you want to get down to the nub vocabulary of it, you're probably talking, I would guess it's probably maybe 30, 40K, maybe, probably less. So. But then it's a big vocabulary. It's like because a lot of them are things like deleting, well, this is delete trailing blanks, I see. So that's the thing is just you want to be able to write things down in a sentence, just like in human language. I mean, the efficiency of human language comes from having a large vocabulary. So a lot of programming is again, finding, gee, is there a word that goes and splits things on any token? And yes. I'll stop my share again. Well,
all right. I was off doing other things. So have you reached the end, Bob?
This
Or
is
pausing? This is the end. Okay. All
And-
right.
but definitely anybody who finds this useful, contact me. Go to CoSy, browse some. But there's no question that it's I know it's unique on the planet, because this group is pretty damned unique on the planet, for one thing. And these two languages, again, it's like leapfrogging all that stuff in the middle that I've never had, time for, because I've never been interested in being a programmer.
All right. Without further ado, then we'll move on. Any final comments or questions for Bob? All right. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to talk about or present? Okay, then. Dennis seems to have wandered off. I was going to harangue him about what he's going to present for fourth day, but
He's there.
well, I see his. Okay, hi Dennis. It's good to see you.
No, I don't have anything for fourth day.
Sure you do. You've done a million things. It's just the question of which one of the million you're going to stop and tell us about.
Oh, I got to think about that. Of what I would talk about, what I got time to put together. I don't. I'm out of time.
I know how that is. All right, I'll not harangue you further then. If you do suddenly get overwhelmed with the urge to present something at random, please drop me a line. You know where I am.
I do, and I am thinking that I will come up for fourth day at least. I will appear.
It will be great to see you.
Yep.
How much time have you scheduled, and how much time do you need to schedule?
Right now, that's that's consistent with previous years. We've scheduled a little bit of things. I know Bill has agreed to talk about a couple of things, and Leon Wagner and Chuck has agreed in principle. His only thing was that, in my message to him, I said, gee, if you're completely unexpectedly deciding you want to come, let us know. We'll use that to draw in more people. And he responded that he was going to Zoom. So I assume that means he's going to Zoom. So Chuck Moore is definitely there. Green Arrays is definitely going to be there, preferably earlier rather than later as in previous years, but we'll see how that works out. Brad has a talk in, but that's all I can think of offhand. I'm notorious for getting a message the night before fourth day saying, well, I'm not on the schedule and I sent you my talk and da-da-da-da-da-da. So I'm not as organized as I could possibly be. I think inaccurate cut and paste and an inattention to detail are the hallmarks of my participation. So, like I say, if you any of you have anything you'd care to present, I'm utterly sure at this point that we can squeeze you in. But like Bill has taught us in this medium, sort of 20 minutes, I think, is the upper limit. Thank you, Bill Ragsdale, for that knowledge. painfully imparted. All right. Robert Heinlein, the author, has taught me many things in his books, without ever saying that this is something that you should act on. In fact, sometimes he says, no. It's something that you should try. Don't try this at home. But the thing that comes to mind right now is the detail of Robert's Rules of Order. We don't go by that, but it's instructive in any case. A motion to adjourn is always in order. It takes precedence and it's not debated. So I move we adjourn.